All right, so let's first focus on the what. What is mid-side processing? Well, this is a process of taking a stereo signal with left and right information, such as our mix here, and converting that information into two copies, a mono copy and a sides copy, and then converting that back into a stereo left and right output. So in a way, we can kind of think of this as also a left and right thing, as in panning. Luckily, this isn't something that you really have to worry about, since any plugin that offers mid-side processing will take care of that conversion for you. What we can then do is boost or cut any of those mono or side frequencies independently. So now that we know what mid-side processing is, why would we want to use it? Well, the best application of mid-side processing is by using mid-side EQing. This will help you create a more balanced and enhanced sounding stereo mix by unmasking overlapping frequencies and produce natural separation so that all instruments can be heard. That way, when we're listening and we hear maybe a vocal and a guitar are kind of competing against each other, well, most of that vocal is going to be up the middle if it's our lead vocal. So what we can do is we can go to those frequencies where the guitar might be competing with the vocal, and we can pull those down. Whether that is a competing higher frequency that tends to be enhanced on the sides, or if it's something more dense and monopanned, then we can pull that down and create a little bit of separation from the lead vocal. It's very subtle, but as I'll demonstrate in just a minute, when you take away those subtle moves, you can hear a drastic difference. So let's demonstrate how you can accomplish this. The plugin that I like to use most for mid-side EQing is the BrainWorks Digital V3 here. This particular plugin has the two controls on the plugin interface itself. You can have your mono section, here, and you have your stereo section here, which is also your sides, and a lot of cool features that can give us more precise control for our desired sound, such as this mono maker here, some auto listens and auto solo options, which are really cool. And for those of you who are using my mixing template designed, or you're taking the mixing course in sonic philosophy, I'll leave a link here if you're interested in joining. I love to use this on every mix I do. Specifically, this mono maker here will be engaged. So let's start there. I've got another plugin here that we'll get to in a minute that's just showing how some other plugins also offer mid-side, but nothing has been adjusted in this. So we can go ahead and bypass it too, just so you won't think that that's doing anything. All right, so let's just take a listen to the track here. So not a bad sounding mix, but I think that it could be cleaned up a little bit. It's a little bit hazy in some spots. So I think we can add some subtle separation, subtle unmasking that can add up to make a really big difference. So let's check out the mono maker here. What I like to do, just like my own little rule of thumb, is I like to set that up to about 100. Now you can play around with it if you want to, but that's fine. So let's see what that does. I'm gonna first take it out and then bring it in to see what that does, and then vice versa. Did you hear the difference? Okay, so now I'll start with it in, and then I'll take it out. Do you know what's happening? One more time. So if you're hearing that the lead vocal just gets a little bit sharper, a little bit more present, just pokes its head a little bit above water, then that's what we've accomplished. Just a little bit of separation We've unmasked some things that maybe was just covering up the lead vocal a little bit. So that was like one thing right off the bat that I heard. So cool, but I think we can go just a little bit further. Here's the cool thing about this plugin. So I've got this auto solo in and this auto listen. So what that does is if I click on any of these frequencies, it's going to pop up down here where that target frequency is, and it's going to solo that up. So here's how that sounds. So around 200, 300 in the mono section here, all of our mono frequencies. Sometimes some things can get built up, especially when there's a lead vocal. So I'm going to adjust the curve a little bit. I don't want it too wide. And we can go all the way drastic, or we can go all the way wide here. But I'm just going to go and go about right here. And then I'm going to pull out some of those frequencies. So here's what we pulled out. What I was hearing in that solo was a couple of frequencies that were competing. We had vocal, we had the kick, we had the little snare in there. And by pulling this out, we can separate those cool elements from that vocal even more and really separate them from each other. So that the pieces of certain frequencies that come through for that kick or that snare can kind of shine on their own as well. So let's see if we can tell a difference, because a lot of this is real subtle. But once we take all of our moves in and out, you'll be able to hear it. But let's just see if we can tell a difference right now. So let's start with it out. So what I'm really hearing is the sides opening up. That's another thing that happens. When you make a little bit of room in the middle there, things come to life on the sides. Our balance starts to enhance that very pleasant experience, that pleasant listening experience that we have ourselves when we listen to music that we like. It's got something like really nice, like just add on the ends there, just get enhanced. And that's something, I don't know if it's psychological or not, but it really is pleasing to our ears. It's what kind of gravitates us towards certain things. It actually feels like it's getting wider. And we've just gone under 2 dBs. And sometimes this may be a little too much, but for right now, for this song, I think that sounds pretty good. So that's a key area that I like to focus on. You know, you could even boost a couple of these things if you needed the vocal to come through just a little bit better. Right now, for this one, I think that we're good, but that's something you could think about. You know, it doesn't always have to be a cut. I do not have that philosophy at all. I love to boost frequencies. But for this, I'm just trying to kind of open things up, spread it out a little bit better, get those sides balanced and the middle focused. So let's move on over here. I'll start with this because I really think that on the sides, you can get some issues between 400 and 500 hertz. So let's see what we've got going on here. Down here at 400. So really, I'm kind of hearing some issues around 400 and 500. So let's go back down here in case we need to use 2 different frequencies. So I'm going to start around 400 with this one. So right there, I want to pull something out so that that real higher, airy feeling presence from the vocal is going to be coming from the mids and spread out that way instead of this area, because I don't really need it on the sides. Her lower part and some of those other things that are in that 400 range, I don't really need those on my sides. And so I'm going to pull that down a little bit. So let's see what that's done. Okay, so for this one, I feel like that bass comes through a lot better because we've taken the weight off the sides and just a little bit. A little bit goes a long way with this. Always subtle moves with this technique. So check out that bass when I bring it back in. Right there. Just makes that bass more present because we've taken some of that wonky, that competing frequency, that mud, as some people like to say, off the sides. And we've had it now be more present in the middle. And so the balance is also much better, much more pleasing to our ears. So let's also check out this 500 area. Do you hear that? That. So we can hear it when we've got it soloed here, but I don't really hear it when we're in the mix. So I'm going to pull that out because I think something's, competing with that. You heard it then. Yeah. Those sounds much more present. Right there. Yeah, I like that a lot. So now we could go even further. We could add a little bit more stereo width. That's not just the stereo section. That's the overall thing. So as I said before, when we were understanding what mid-side processing was, this plugin is taking the audio here. It's going through it, the stereo left and right. And it's making two copies. It's making a mono copy and it's making a sides copy. I know this one says stereo, but you kind of think of it that way because it is still a left and right thing. Mono is taking that left and right signal and it's putting it up the middle and it's just taking that signal, the frequencies of that signal. And then the sides is taking the sides. And so I'll show you a little graph here on what this is actually doing, what this kind of looks like visually. And as you can see here, you've got a very peak part in the mono where most of those frequencies are. It's not going to eliminate the sides. That's just not what this is. As you'll see, the opposite of that on the sides, if you were to find the very, very center of the sides signal that it's converting, it would actually be zero. It would be nothing. But on the sides here is where you're getting all your information. But it's so tiny that I wouldn't even try to find that. But anyways, I hope that this kind of explains what that's doing. And then the plugin is also, after you make all your adjustments here, it's converting it back into a stereo image where you have both of those two copies back into one, converted it back into a left and right signal. And so that's what this is doing right here. This is going to control the stereo part of that. And so you can, do some panning or even add a little bit of stereo width to it. I'm not going to fool with that because that's something else that we can talk about is a stereo wideners. But we're just going to focus on mid-side EQing here. So now what I want to do is that we've made a couple of moves here. So we've made the one with the mono maker, we've made one over here, and then two over here. So we've got 4 very subtle moves. Everything here is less than 2 dBs of cuts. Something else that I also like to do, but I don't really do it with this one, is I'll use the airband on a different plugin, and I'll crank that up to 40. Okay, I think this one goes up to 40. Yeah, right here. And I'll just gotta go slightly like that. But I'm not gonna worry about that one, so we'll just take that out. So let's go back and listen to these just real quick here. All right, so now that we made a couple little adjustments there, I may not back off a little bit on that too. I want to see what this sounds like with and without. So let's go ahead and start without. It almost has just a little bit more polished, a little bit more present, and you can really hear it when you take all of them out, in and out like that. Man, it's just such a big difference to me. I hope you can hear it. It sounds almost a little bit more radio quality for me. And that's crazy because that's usually because of compression. But just pulling out some of those competing frequencies really helps polish everything out. And sometimes, it's not a written rule that you have to have compression. When you do certain things like this to really help balance things out, help clear things up, makes it sound more balanced, spread it out a little bit, make a little bit of room for everything. Well, I don't like to be too separated, right? We're not trying to, glue a vocal onto a karaoke track here. But this sounds great, and it really also helps when your mix is, in that final stage, in that proper final stereo balance sound, is when you can just go in here and do a couple of subtle moves and everything sounds just fantastic. So that is how you accomplish, understand, know how to use mid-side EQ. And like I said, you can do this with other plugins just like this Fab filter. I think Waves has one. It doesn't have to be this one in particular. I just like it. It's just kind of my go-to. I love, turning the knobs instead of trying to do things like this, but you can accomplish all of that by just selecting right here. And then this one has a couple of other different options too as well. So you can select, mid-side, and then you're just adjusting the mids. You can also turn this into a low cut, and we can put that up to 100 and accomplish the same thing as the mono maker here. So you can do all that. And then you can have a ton of different other placements here. So if you wanted to pull out, the 500 area, we'll make that Q a little bit lower, maybe not as much. So you can still do all of this stuff that we did with the other plugin. And then that's how you would accomplish that one. Just like that. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for checking this video out. If you've got any questions whatsoever, just leave them right there in the comment section. If that's something that you just, you don't really like to have your own questions out there for anyone else to read, then just shoot me an email, okay? Or send me a private message on here. That is perfectly fine. I totally understand. But if you do have anything that you want to discuss, I'd be more than happy to. All right. Thanks for watching, y'all.